Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Please share this with your friends. Let them know what a Mexican line, Crossing Lines is doing, what shows we are sharing with you, what information we are sharing with you. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about Pueblos Sin Fronteras being accused by SEGOB of basically human trafficking. And this was huge because this was announced in Washington, D.C., okay? This was a notification, I think, of sorts of what the government of the United States, Homeland Security, Mexico's government, and Interpol will be investigating according to the reports. So it's going to be a very interesting and educational show. I also want to give you updates on the boy Carlos and what's going on with him. I've been working all day. Tell him I've been working all day.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Should introduce the show so you have that. It's really a lot better when I do the editing for the audio.
Oh, true. That's true. I'm going to do it.
It's always nice to have all that stuff at the beginning.
But yes, I'm going to be talking about all of that here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo, Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. You can also find all of our shows online at kpppfm.com, or you can listen to them now on YouTube. Yep. You can watch them and listen to them on YouTube as well. I want to thank all of you who have been calling me. I'm sorry I have not been able to get back to some of you. I've literally been on the phone since my eyes opened.
Since the eyes opened and until your eyes shut.
Until my eyes shut? No, I don't think so. I quit at some point and I was like, take the phone away from me and put it way far away from me so I can't talk on it to anybody. I mean, I really appreciate all the hard work folks are doing out there, but there's just simply not enough hours in the day for me to get back to all the calls. And I do have to do a lot of research and investigation, which means I got to talk to the folks that have firsthand information about these crimes.
Oh, yeah.
So if I didn't get back to you and you're one of the many people sending me information or leads, I apologize. I'm going to try to get to that as soon as possible. Folks, Duke, tell them how they can get to us.
Okay, folks.
Okay, folks.
You can get a hold of us in a bunch of different ways, and we do appreciate everybody who's been sending us information. You can, if you want to give us a call and leave a message for us, and so we have like a voicemail from you, you can do that by calling 701-566-0917. Again, that's 701-566-0917. You can do regular old email, Cindy at kpppfm.com. and me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can also tweet us at media_PPP. You can find a page of Cindy's that's public. It's at Cindy Go Schempp on Facebook. Our Facebook pages are our most popular one that people tend to communicate with us, and you can keep on doing that. It's 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. We have the People's Press Project of Mexi-Can, and we have kpppfm.com. Now, that's our main website. It's where we've been storing all of our shows. As Cindy said, that we upload these Facebook Live videos to YouTube now. The channel on YouTube is Duke1517. I'd appreciate it if you went there, looked up Duke1517 and subscribed. And if you want to be notified when the videos are ready and they're up, click the little bell. You'll be notified. That way you have high-definition videos, and it's not on Facebook. The comments are scrolling on the screen, which makes it nice, so you basically get the whole experience. Also on our website, you can find all the old shows in audio format. So if you're driving down the road, want to just listen and not be watching the video, you can click on the audio. Just go to kpppfm.com and go to A Mexican Crossing Lines and look up those shows. And there's, other shows, Finding Me, Nemo does shows. They're there, and we put other material on there. We have a section now for articles, and I'd encourage you to go read some of those articles. They're all very, very good. There's, I think, 3 articles up now, and we're going to put some more. Also, I'd like to thank people who donate, because we're a nonprofit, non-commercial radio station. We're a community-run, and we rely on the benevolence of people in the community to help support us. And this week, we got a donation from Linda B. Linda B., thank you so much. And it was actually a donation sent in the mail. I'll be sending you out a little thank you for that, so I do appreciate that.
Oh, my God, do we appreciate you, Linda.
Yep.
Thank you so much, not just for the donation, but for your hard work in exposing all of the dangers and all of the stuff that you guys do as far as research and sending me links and stories. I spend a large part of my day reading up on what is going on so that I can investigate things further, bring you the stories, and help you understand what's happening in Mexico and what's coming our way here in the United States. Now, I'm going to spend today's show focused on this accusation made against Pueblos Sin Fronteras because it is super important.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a huge story, and I don't see it being reported anywhere in the news here in the United States. I saw it in the Mexican media, and I was like, oh my God, Duke, do you realize what this is? Like, this is the Secretaría de Gobierno saying that this organization, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, is an international human trafficking organization that is being investigated by Interpol and the Homeland Security in Mexico. So I know there's been a lot of, disconnect between what the Mexican government says they're going to do about the caravan and what the Mexican government actually does about the caravan. Mm-hmm. And I think that, y'all have to understand, Mexico's kind of a work in progress in terms of its governance. You have to remember that one party dominated for like 90 some years. You have to remember that there is a lot of corruption because of the drug cartels and other reasons. You have to remember that although there is a new president and he's a very populist president, it doesn't mean that filters down to what, how things are enforced. As a paralegal, I always told Duke, or when people say to me like, that's illegal, I'm like, yeah. But is anybody enforcing the law? Because if nobody's enforcing the law, then what does it matter if something is illegal or not? Exactly. People are going to get away with doing it. They're going to break the law. So, the president of Mexico has repeatedly said that if you come into the country illegally, you are going to be arrested. You're going to be deported. Mm-hmm. But, and that they've said, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And there's two more dead agents at the hands of Mara Salvatrucha. Wow. Remember I was telling you about that this morning?
Yep, you did.
I think it's one of the stories Linda sent me. But my point here is, folks, I really feel very strongly that even though that there is this disconnect, this announcement made in Washington, D.C., this was not news that was, shared from Mexico. Mm-hmm. They came and said this here in the U.S. That is huge. Yeah. I think they're sending a very strong message in conjunction with the administration currently in power here in the United States, because they're saying we're coordinating efforts, and we're coordinating those efforts with Interpol. So I wanted to show you that. I'm going to try to do my best and translate this to you as this is, well, maybe I won't, because my microphone is stuck and I kind of use it.
Actually, it's headphones, but yeah.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I am ready now to do the thing.
You're ready? Ready for video?
I think so, yes. Go.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a Dale al Play.
The new model of migration that seems more secure to migrants as caravans. It's a new phenomenon that we had never seen before. That, in fact, we have to look at who are the promoters of these caravans. What organizations are promoting these caravans? Who are the leaders of these caravans? How do they recruit people all the way from Honduras? These leaders, how do they work? And how do they create this migratory movement that is very unusual, but it's going to become normalized? We have identified the leaders of organizations, non-governmental NGOs that are recruiting these caravans. One of them is Pueblos Sin Fronteras. This government implemented a policy of migration with this new president, and they opened the doors. Well, maybe it's a Pandora's box, And they said, come, we're a humanitarian government, we're going to give you visas, there's work here. We're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. And they don't think they even have an idea. I don't know how we're going to organize all of this. But one of the things that really sticks out to me is who has so much power to call out to people and organize them and bring them here. The words of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, or the power of the words of the Mexican own government saying, come, the doors are open for you. Look how many people came after our policies in Mexico, open doors, has caused. And now they don't know how to resolve it. Woo! That was fast.
Yeah, it was very, very well done, though. Thank you very much.
Let me just explain to you what you heard. First, the person that was speaking was Olga Sanchez Cordero, who is the head of SEGOB, who said that Interpol and the United States Homeland Security are working together to investigate this group. Next was a counter argument to that, kind of saying, really, like, who's really at fault for creating these caravans, and kind of casting doubt on the fact that SEGOB is pointing at Pueblos Sin Fronteras and accusing them directly and saying, we're going to investigate this group, and we're going to investigate all the groups that support this group and fund this group and are helping organize the migrant caravans and bring them to the United States illegally. And we're investigating them as an international trafficking ring. The counterpoint to this, and I'm going to show you more from Pueblos Sin Fronteras and others of their followers, people that want to attack the government of Mexico, the government of the United States, and anyone who points their fingers at the actual people bringing the caravans, like Pueblos Sin Fronteras, because they want you to believe somehow that what they're doing is defensible, even if it's indefensible what they are doing. And believe me, it is indefensible. And they're saying, really? You think we're so powerful that we could, this little organization could do all of this damage? No, you know who it was? It was AMLO signing that pact.
Yeah.
And sure. Okay, we can throw some blame his way. We can say, yeah, AMLO screwed it up. He screwed the pooch here. He should not have given these folks carte blanche to trample Mexico and Mexican rights the way that he did. But at the end of the day, the actual physical people going to Central America and specifically Honduras and recruiting folks and lying to them and organizing them and paying people to bring them up here and trafficking them into the United States, and with the false hopes that they're going to get asylum, which 99%, well, I'm going to say more like 95% of them will not get. That's these guys and all of the people that have helped to fund them. So I figured, hey, let's pick them apart. Let's pick this apart, guys. Let's find out who's behind this. So first I wanted to show you who else is up in arms about this. I'm going to have to do a separate video. I almost thought of doing it tonight, but I don't have time for this man. The terrorist did a video.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah. The terrorist did a video. I watched it last night after you went to bed. And I don't want to translate him right now. I'll translate it for you some other time just so you can hear his brand of crazy. But you really look at this post. This is him posting about what SEGOB has said. SEGOB is accusing Pueblos Sin Fronteras of being the cause of these caravans. I believe, nobody cares what you believe, Guerrero. I believe that in the first place, it's hunger and insecurity and the repression and the incentivization that has been created through great media platforms such as Univision, Telemundo, and HCH. Pueblos Sin Fronteras worked in a coordinated fashion with the Mexican authorities in the coordination of transportation, water, food, medicine, shelter, and transport for the migrants in the caravan. Check out the video. And the video that he is sharing is the one which I just translated for you.
Oh, really?
So that counterpoint that you heard blaming the Mexican government likely comes from one of the people that are defending Pueblos Sin Fronteras, because he's saying the same thing that the video counterpoint person says, which is, who's more powerful to bring to encourage these people to come here? Pueblos Sin Fronteras or the Mexican government itself, right? I have been trying to explain to folks on my show the ins and outs of how they're bringing people here. And as you heard in my interview with Pastor Albert Rivera, discussing the way in which these activist groups give drugs to the caravan, have kidnapped a child, and also are working closely with the lawyers group Al Otro Lado, which have perpetrated fake marriages. And he showed proof on my show of one of them, fake marriages that are then used in asylum claims to defraud the United States government. Now, I got attacked on social media, on Twitter and stuff, for interviewing the pastor and for showing that evidence. Yeah, somebody called me, it's a troll account. It's a bot account.
Okay.
It's interestingly, it is a bot account that is followed by two people that I am following, and I'm not following them because I like them. I'm following them because they're doing something weird and I'm paying attention to what they're doing, called immigration rights activists. And I was like, I get it. Y'all are with Pueblo. You're working with Al Otro Lado and Bridges of Love Across Borders. And you're one of those trolls connected to all these people I've been investigating. So, of course, you're going to try to defend the indefensible, because I showed in my show, and the pastor presented me 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, every chain of custody piece of evidence that shows that Al Otro Lado is falsifying these marriages in Mexico. I showed it to you on my show, every piece of it. So how in the hell can they call me pathetic and say that how can I be defaming Al Otro Lado, tagging Al Otro Lado in these posts, when I showed my work? I showed you my receipts. Do you not know how to read, or do you not have eyes? Why are you blaming me of being a liar when I have proof of what I'm saying? I'm not making any of this stuff up. This pastor is not making any of this stuff up. But also, I question. I ask, right? I'm going to be giving you an update about the boy very soon. I want to tell you, I'm not going to share it on the show today because I want to get to the Pueblos Sin Fronteras stuff. I want to stick with the topic of tonight. But tonight, before I did my show, I spoke to the pastor again, and he gave me some new leads, one of which was allowing me to interview the migrant that witnessed the boy with the two of the people that appeared in the photos I showed you that were part of the whole kidnapping scheme with the activists. The woman in the pink striped shirt, the man that was walking with the boy in the picture. Those two individuals were seen at the shelter with this boy, and I have that exclusive interview. I will be sharing that on my next show, so you can hear it from the witness's mouth, what he had to say. By the way, for those of you who are trying to find out where to look for the boy, I think he still might be in detention, and so does this gentleman that I spoke to. But you know, it's been a while now, so he might have been taken out by now. But he was in the shelter that was next to the airport. That's what he told me.
In the United States.
In San Diego.
Yes.
In San Diego. He said, We got out of the detention facility, and there was an airport right next door to it. Okay, so we know that. That's another piece of information that we did not have. So I will be bringing you that interview so you can hear it from himself. What he saw, what he witnessed, what he knows about the whereabouts of this boy. In addition to that, I'm going to be sharing more information from my source, the Pastor Rivera, of information that he has in conversations that would indicate, I have not verified them, folks. I'm being very clear about that, but I'm going to check it out. That would indicate that the people, remember that the boy ran away from a YMCA shelter after he was taken into custody by the Mexican government in Deef?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has proof, he says, that would indicate that the activists had contacts, including the shelter management at this particular shelter.
Wow.
That's bad news.
Yeah.
Because I think that the pastor, well, he said as much. He suspects that they may have made some kind of deal to hand the boy over, or let him escape, or let him go with those activists. So, getting back to the topic of today's show, I'll be bringing that later, okay? Getting back to the topic of today's show, I wanted to show you, and I will be sharing the source links for all of these videos that I'm sharing with you and articles. There's an article that was posted in the publication Zeta Tijuana. Here's a screen capture from this article that I wanted to share with you about them talking about Pueblos Sin Fronteras. And you can see there that it says, it's in Spanish, so you can't really understand it. But
yeah, I can hardly see it.
Hoy el nuevo. Okay. Hoy. Okay, here I am. So in this article, I'm going to just kind of read part of it to you. The parts that are in blue are the parts that are most important, but I'm not only going to read those parts. I wanted to let you know that this article says that Olga Sanchez Cordero, the head of the Secretary of Governance, SEGOB, accused on Thursday that from Washington, D.C., the organization Pueblos Sin Fronteras as the principal cause of the migrant caravans that have traveled through Central America all the way to the United States since last October. During their presentation at the Migration Policy Institute, SEGOB head Olga Sanchez Cordero described the migratory policy of the federal government of Mexico, in which she affirmed that caravans are the new model of migration from those countries into the north. Quote, today, the new model of migration, which is the most secure as the migrants see it, are caravans. It is a new phenomenon that we had not seen before. I know I'm repeating a little of what was in that video, but stay with me. We have, for example, identified the leaders of organizations, non-NGO organizations that are recruiting these caravans, and we assert that one of these groups is Pueblos Sin Fronteras. We also must look into who is promoting the caravans. What organizations are promoting these caravans? Who are the leaders of these caravans? How do they recruit people as the leaders of this organization does? And how do they, operate this unusual movement that we believe will become normalized very soon? And then it says, according to Sanchez Cordero, the new Mexican government detected amongst the migrants of the caravan that were entering into the country since January of last year that there were criminals amongst the caravan. In fact, even criminals sought by Interpol because they are working in other countries, which is why Mexico's government is working with these other countries as well as with the United States to speed up the interchange of information between the countries on their investigations of this group and others related to them. Wow. Despite this, the Mexican head of SEGOB did not specifically name any leaders of that organization, not NGO organization, by name in the Reforma newspaper that first aired this news, where it indicated that Pueblos Sin Fronteras is made up of volunteers that, it's quoting from their own website, I think, volunteers that, quote, seek to offer solidarity and want to travel as human rights observers with the migrants and refugees on their travels, their hopeful travels. And it says there, this is according to their website. So, during her visit to the United States, Sánchez Cordero, the Secretaría de Seguridad Interna, this is Homeland Security head Kirsten Nielsen, spoke to each other about their collaboration on migration issues, immigration issues, and border security. Okay, so I wanted to also share with you this picture of one of the people that is working very closely with this organization, who I think needs to be the first people that go under the radar, or they've been under the radar, but they should be on the radar, are the first ones on the radar for Interpol and Homeland Security, and that is Nicole Ramos of Al Otro Lado. But check out her hat, folks. Check out her hat. I want my audience, listeners, viewers, she is wearing a hat with the logo of Al Otro Lado on her head. In other pictures that appear on this source link that I'm going to share with all of you, or Nemo's going to share with all of you, from the GoFundMe for Al Otro Lado, that's where I got this picture from. And that GoFundMe, which Nemo will drop in the comments of the show so you can go check for yourself, has a number of pictures. One of those other pictures has another one of the people working with Al Otro Lado, who is also wearing a hat from Pueblos Sin Fronteras. In this picture, you see Nicole Ramos with the LGBTQ caravan, and in the middle there, in the back, right behind the girl with the beanie on her head. What kind of hat is that, Duke? Is that a beanie?
I don't know.
I don't know what you call those. They look like those little British hats or whatever. There's two people with hats, but she's the one in the middle with the striped shirts that has no sleeves on it. Yep. And she has a long braid. That is one of the transgender leaders, Pitaya Queen, on which I did an extensive report. Pitaya has her own show. Pitaya has one show of mine, actually two shows, dedicated entirely to her crime, to her lying, to her shenanigans. Pitaya Queen, or OJ Queen, or Roberto Nikai Flote, whatever your name is, this person is one of the people responsible for trafficking people from Central America into Mexico and then into the United States. And she's also responsible for helping to put a transgender woman, through all of these countries that had HIV that was not reported. And then she died in ICE custody from complications of her AIDS. So that, that probably wasn't necessary, not for her. The woman's name, by the way, is Roxana Hernandez. Flote, Nikai Flote, Pitaya Queen, OJ Queen, whatever your name is. She's gotten knocked a lot. She's gotten called out in public when people see her like, you're responsible for the death of that woman you brought here with AIDS. And she deflects and deflects and deflects. No, it's the ICE people, the cruel ICE at the detention facility. These people want to blame everybody but themselves. They don't want to take responsibility for anything that they are doing. And I, for one, am so happy. I'm so happy. I am. I'm really super happy that SEGOB and Homeland Security have announced this because, they're going to be on the run now because I don't know how you can continue to deflect, although I'm sure these people will try. But I don't know how you can continue to deflect and say you're not doing something wrong, you're not doing something bad when there are literally carcasses in your wake. When you are leaving people behind that end up dying because they decided to listen to people like her saying, hey, I showed you videos. Nemo, I want you to drop the link to my show, Pitaya Queen, where people can see for themselves what I translate everything she says for you. This is a woman that passed herself off as a Honduran refugee with the caravan. She's not. She's an American. She's a Harvard grad student. And her specialization is in women, in transgender and queer migration. Okay. So then she's going to actually traffic people and bring them all the way to the United States. But she says in her videos in the Mexican media, when they catch her out, because when people I started contacting a bunch of reporters in Mexico and going, hey, I know a whole bunch of stuff about Pitaya Queen. She's not really part of the caravan. She's an American citizen with a Harvard education, trying to pass herself off as one of the downtrodden. You need to call her out because she's connected to all these Standing Rock phonies and actors and very, very rich people. How's she getting away with trying to sell us this persona? Oh, they're the people that are attacked the most and they live their life in fear. And, then they started calling her out and she's like, then she flipped the script and started saying, people are trying to say that we're trafficking transsexuals and that we're bringing them here because prostitution is legal. They are. And that, if we don't manage to cross you into the United States, at least you can stay here and work and you'll make more money than you would in your home countries because, again, prostitution is legal here on the border and there's a lot of Americans coming into Tijuana that are looking for a good time. Now, I can't tell you whether or not any of that's true, but boy, did I hear a lot of it coming from reliable sources that were investigating her. But you know what I did find out? Let me show you something. Let me show you, folks, something. First of all, I want to show you this other article because we're going to try to understand some things here. Here are some of the other people pissing their pants right now because they're so angry that the government is going, we see you and we're coming after you. And this one is one of the leaders of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Irineo Mujica. Look at his face. Remember it if you don't already know. I have been sent evidence from people that watch my show and listen to my show on the radio that Irineo Mujica is also American and has connections to all these American activists here in the United States, has a house in Texas, I believe I was told. Folks, if you want to send me that information my way, again, I would appreciate it because it's buried somewhere in the long ago when I first started talking about these fools, and I don't even remember where it went. And I was like, it's going to take me a lot of research to find out whether or not this guy is really from the United States. But I know a lot of these people are passing themselves off as part of the caravan because they're of Honduran descent and their accents are the same. So nobody knows they're Americans, but there's a bunch of them. I showed you that Clinton Reyes, who's from New York. These people speak perfect English. They've been living here in the United States, and they're connected to all these activists. But since they have to say in these caravans, they don't have anybody leading them. This organically happened out of thin air. They have to have people planted within the caravan that all look like they're Central Americans and speak this language perfectly in their same accent, so they cannot be detected to be different. And they're the ones leading. They're the ones shepherding. They're the ones trafficking these folks, like Clinton Reyes. But Irineo is another one of these folks. And what did he have to say? Well, in this article, he is complaining, folks. That's what he said. He's like, one of the quotes in here is the headline of this article, in which is found in Diario Contrapeso Ciudadano. I will share it in all links of my show. And it says, definitivamente nos equivocamos con López Obrador, Pueblos Sin Fronteras. So this is one of the spokespersons and leaders of the group saying we definitely made a big mistake with the new president. And this is what they are complaining about. I'm going to read you the whole article because it's super short. Three months after Andrés Manuel López Obrador, Mexican president, would take possession of the government, there are persons that are really starting to regret their decisions in supporting him and that believed that the situation would be different under this new rule. Quote, we definitely made a mistake thinking that the new government under López Obrador would change the situation for migrants. There was more respect for migrants under PRI, under Peña Nieto, he's saying, to defend the rights, the human rights. Oh my God, what a bunch
really?
Irineo, ni tú te la crees, pendejo. Oh my God, he's so dumb. Anyway, it says, I can't believe this guy is crazy. So he's saying that Peña Nieto, one of the most hated and corrupt presidents in the history of all of Mexico, was so much better
on human rights.
This is so stupid. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So he says, said the director of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Irineo Mujica, in his interview with Ciro Gomez-Leiva. And the intention of Pueblos Sin Fronteras was to await that this new president would take power in order to speak to him with regard to immigration policy. They believed that the situation would improve, but they have not had any response from this federal government, despite their many attempts to get close to the administration.
Yeah.
Quote, isn't this government supposed to be one of a civil society? Asked Irineo. He considers that immigration reform has failed. Quote, we believed that they had a plan, and that plan is non-existent. We are a little bit miffed, worried. This is irresponsible, he said. Oh my God, these people are so demanding. We demand our rights.
Yes.
So, this pronouncement, this is a press release put out by Pueblos Sin Fronteras on their own page, denouncing Cordero Sanchez for what she says. February 28 press release. Pueblos Sin Fronteras denounces the false accusations of Olga Sanchez Cordero, which criminalize civil society and seek to deny any governmental responsibility for its failed Mexican immigration policy.
Oh, yeah.
All in caps.
Yep.
Okay. Scroll up. It's funny. I'm going to read it to you. To the media, to civil society and human rights advocates in Mexico, the United States, and Central America. To the Mexican Commission, National Mexican Commission on Human Rights and the Inter-American Courts of Human Rights. Pueblos Sin Fronteras is an organization that defends and promotes the rights of all migrant peoples. Our work has focused on humanitarian aid as well as monitoring and report. You mean trafficking?
Yeah.
They call it monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
They call it monitoring. I think you spelled human trafficking wrong.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He says, monitoring and reporting human rights violations like the ones you're committing?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay. We also advocate for more humane policies and practices in both Mexico and the United States. Today, in Washington, D.C., Miss Olga Sanchez Cordero, head of the Mexican Secretary of Government, Secretaría de Gobernación de México, SEGOB, made comments that criminalize organizations and individuals of civil society who defend migrant rights. The Mexican government intends to distract the public and to avoid taking responsibility for a failed migratory policy, one that promotes xenophobia and racism in a way never seen before in Mexico.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God, these people are so crazy. These comments create chaos at the border. This is what creates chaos at the border.
Mm-hmm.
This woman in government going, we found the criminals at the top of the food chain, guys.
Yep.
Now we just have to dismantle this by looking at everyone that funds them and supports them, and we've got these people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is causing chaos at the... You're causing chaos at the border, Pueblos Sin Fronteras.
Mm-hmm.
They deflect. Okay. Oh, my God. They make me laugh. While Sanchez Cordero provided no evidence to support her serious and irresponsible accusations,
Yep.
nor those made by Tonatiuh Guillen, head of the National Migration Institute, INAMI, there is ample documentation of corruption and criminality on the part of high-level officers of the INAMI, which even the Mexican government has acknowledged. Yeah, and they fired 300 and some people that they caught were extorting money out of migrants. You know what happens when you are an immigration agent and you get caught doing something messed up? They charge you, they fire you. And that's what happened to these people. So what's your point? You haven't been brought to justice, though. Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Our organization has not participated in the organization of any migrant caravan since the inauguration of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. We have never organized or recruited any caravan from Central America. In short, Sanchez Cordero's declarations are an embarrassment for the hundreds of thousands of us who believe the promises of the new Mexican government with regard to immigration policy and human rights. We demand justice for all displaced peoples on the move and that the true criminals be brought to justice.
That's right.
And who are the true criminals, Duke?
They are.
What do you think of this craziness?
Well, it was in their response, deny, 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 but then to throw it back at the Mexican government's the problem. This is quite. They're caught. They are caught. They're caught big time, and
they're scared.
Yeah, and this is announced in the United States. This didn't come out of Mexican media. Out of Mexico, and they're running scared right now. So their defense, they put this up like right away on their page, and they have it in Spanish and English and multiple posts of it. And I think you have a few more to show us, but they're running scared, and their defense is lame. I think their defense is lame. They're not even saying the things they did. And the whole idea, they have not participated with any migrant caravans. It's
laughable.
It's a lie.
It's
they've been involved, and
redonkulous.
they might have been cleaning their Facebook page, so you can't really see the chronology of what they've been doing. I think it jumps all of a sudden for a couple of months, because they deleted everything. But it's like, it's lies. It's lies.
And, yours truly has been screen capturing. I really recommend you do the same, folks. I really appreciate all the information you send me. I'm trying to collect it because that's how you build a case, right? But here's the thing. If you send me a link, you think these people are going to keep evidence of their crimes on social media? No. And it is very sad for me when you send me a link that you say has evidence of something that they've been doing wrong, and I go and try to download it and it's gone, or they've blocked me.
Yeah.
Also, these people know I've been investigating them. A lot of them have blocked me, so I can't look at their stuff. And then, of course, as soon as I start talking about them on my show, they go dark. They disappear off. They take out their accounts are gone. So just know that,
Screenshot. Do a screenshot. Learn how to do a screenshot. If you have a Chrome, you can get a little extension for screenshot and screenshot.
Also, tell them how they could download videos. You have a really quick method you use for Facebook videos, and I know that folks may not know how to do this, but it's not really that hard to, right?
No. In fact, if you just Google how download Facebook videos, they give you all sorts of options. My Facebook vid, NSave, all sorts of tools, and all you do is put the URL in there and click save, and now it makes you name it, so you put a name for it, and it downloads your computer, so you actually have that video offline on your computer, so it's saved and it's safe. And if you want to send it to us, sometimes they're too big to send by email, but there's other routes we can do to help you figure out how to get us material. I think you can send it with Messenger pretty easy. I don't think there's a limit on the videos. So it's like, that's one way of keeping the information, because like Cindy says, we get a lot of stuff that says attachment unavailable.
Attachment unavailable.
And
it's very sad.
And like Cindy said, people are scrubbing their pages because they're like, oh my God, I got to get rid of all this incriminating evidence I'm being accused of. And they think just because they deleted it, it's not actually there, because a lot of people screenshot. Yeah,
screenshots are forever, folks. So save them, do them. Another really easy way to do them on your computer is to hit the print screen button and then open up your Paint. Most computers have the Paint app, and then you Control V, or paste, and it'll put the image on a sheet of paper you can then save, and there you have your screenshot. So I'm not going to read this whole litany of crap that was written by Pueblos Sin Fronteras, because one press release wasn't enough to bitch and moan about what Cordero said. They needed two. Pueblos Sin Fronteras denuncia la criminalización. That we denounce the criminalization and defamation against the Mexican, Central American exodus of migrants and their allies. And we make a call out for unity and for the protection of life and the physical security of those who are defenders of human rights traveling with the caravan and those within the caravan. And then it goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Keep scrolling so you can show people what they're writing.
Okay.
Just the amount of writing that is in here. It goes on.
They're telling the story
and
again.
on. They're talking about how they've been criticized, that there are lives at stake, that this is a humanitarian crisis, that the organizations working with Pueblos Sin Fronteras are just humanitarian organizations.
Yeah.
Defenders of human rights. Which this horrible thing that Cordero said is criminalizing all of these people.
Yeah.
That they have been following people that are going to the United States since 2018.
Yeah.
That they are not recruiting, and they are not giving people false hope. That these people truly, this is their only option. And it just keeps going and going and going and going.
It's going and going.
Now.
It's not even done yet.
Oh, no.
I'm having trouble scrolling it. So
that's
long.
why I told you I ain't going to read that crap because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so long. And it's just, excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. And, you know, we are not this and we are not that, blah, 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 blah.
Here's again.
Yeah, but we got receipts. So say what you will. Here is Influence Watch, which is kind of like a watchdog group that gathers information about what organizations are doing and what they're connected to and who they're funded by and blah, 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 blah. So let's go through this. Let's learn about this organization, shall we? Okay. So Pueblos Sin Fronteras, according to Influence Watch, is People Without Borders, is what it translates to, is a project of La Familia Latina Unida, a Chicago-based, a Chicago, Illinois-based 501c4 illegal immigration advocacy organization that was formed in 2001 by Elvira Arellano, an activist for immigrants living illegally here in the U.S. The organization is affiliated with the Chicago-based 501c3 pro-illegal immigration group Centro Sin Fronteras. Together, the organizations have been involved in organizing approximately 1,000 economic migrants from Central America to attempt to cross into the U.S. and Mexican borders illegally since 2010. While it's unclear who founded Pueblos Sin Fronteras, many media sources attribute the group's creation to Roberto Corona, an illegal immigration activist who formed Pueblos Sin Fronteras in 2009 while organizing day laborers near Southern Methodist University in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. Okay, so now I'm going to give you, from Influence Watch, the organizational overview of this group. In the organizational overview, it says, Pueblos Sin Fronteras en la Familia Latina Unida is sponsored. Its sponsor are regularly listed together, including on the latter's website and their respective social media pages. Emma Lozano, a left-wing activist and a pastor at the Lincoln United Methodist Church in Chicago, Illinois, is listed as executive director. Lozano is also president and founder of Centro Sin Fronteras. She is the sister of the late Rudy Lozano, a left-wing activist and community organizer in Chicago, Illinois. Lozano is also a pastor at the Lincoln United Methodist Church in Chicago, along with her husband, the pastor Walter Slim Coleman. Illegal immigration activist Robert Corona is the founder of Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Pueblos Sin Fronteras is a member of the National Day Labor Organization Network, a left-wing coalition of immigrant activist groups. And according to their 2019 January report, Pueblos Sin Fronteras consists of about 40 U.S. and Mexican activists. So next, we're going to talk about the illegal caravan of 2018. I'm not going to read this whole page. It does go into their ideological origins, but I'm not going to really go through that. You can have the source link of this search for Pueblos Sin Fronteras if you want to go and read the whole thing for yourself. And I do highly suggest that you look at this for yourselves and read it and learn about these organizations. So this is with regard to the illegal immigrant caravan of 2018 that started from October to November. The background here is that in mid-October in 2018, a caravan of roughly 4,000 to 7,000 immigrants seeking illegal entry into the United States was launched from Central America. The caravan, which first crossed the Guatemalan border in Mexico illegally on October 19, was organized by at least one activist from Pueblos Sin Fronteras, identified as Dennis Omar Contreras, sometimes spelled Contreras or Contrera. Contera or Contrera. A second Pueblos Sin Fronteras activist, Rodrigo Abeja, was later identified as traveling with other migrants. Abeja was noted as being one of the caravan's leaders in the Washington Post. He was also a caravan leader in April of 2018. After President Donald Trump warned the government of Honduras and Guatemala that they would be cut off from American foreign aid for failing to control the flow of illegal immigrants to the U.S., Pueblos Sin Fronteras accused the Central American countries of adopting a, quote, policy of fear and racism imposed by the United States, close quote. The caravan met with criticism from many American pro-legal immigration groups, which wrote that, quote, bowing to this immigration bowing to this migration blackmail would produce an American political backlash that would damage the cause of legal immigration and a humane refugee policy. David Frum, a moderate Republican and writer for The Atlantic, noted that the caravan slogan was "People without borders," adding that it chimes with the rising sentiment among liberals that border enforcement is inherently illegitimate and usually racist also. Okay, so there is a section called the initial denial of Pueblos Sin Fronteras involvement. So they deny involvement in this section, that Pueblos Sin Fronteras had nothing to do. Here it goes. A number of central left U.S. media outlets initially denied the role of Pueblos Sin Fronteras and other left-wing groups in organizing of the caravans. On October 23rd, the Washington Post published a report which considered the caravans to have been created spontaneously by economic migrants. Univision, a Spanish-language television network, reported on November 15th that, quote, there is no organized effort to try to get these migrants from Honduras to the U.S.-Mexico border. When asked about any involvement by non-governmental agencies, Univision said, quote, in all our reporting since this caravan started, not only this one, the others that preceded it, we haven't found any evidence of any government involvement in funding or financing this effort to try to get these people from Honduras to the U.S.-Mexico border. There's no government or state force behind this, close quote. According to the New York Times on October 20th, did Democrats or George Soros fund migrant caravan? Despite Republicans' claims, no. It is quoted, that's the headline, by the way. It is quoted, quote, the notion that refugees will leave their homes solely for a little cash is crazy, said Alex Mensing, a project coordinator with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, a transnational group that organized the migrant caravan that captured Mr. Trump's attention last spring. The group did not coordinate the caravan, it says in parentheticals, that is now traveling north, but it has organized similar journeys for years. Pueblos Sin Fronteras activist Alex Mensing later claimed that, quote, there is no one in charge of this thing, the caravans he's referring to. At an October 19 protest in San Francisco, California, however, Mensing denounced efforts to control the flow of illegal immigrant caravans from Central America. Quote, it is time for the Guatemalan government to stand up for its Honduran brothers and sisters, said Alex Mensing with the San Francisco-based organization Pueblos Sin Fronteras, a group that advocates for migrants' human rights. Quote, the people who are currently fleeing Honduras are being forcibly displaced from their country, and that is a direct result of the corrupt Honduran government and U.S. intervention and support for that corrupt government. In a, in a November 26 radio interview with KPBS, there they are again.
Oh, yeah.
Mensing also said that he was present on the Mexican side of the country's northern border when caravan members attempted to forcibly cross into the United States. On October 18, Pueblos Sin Fronteras activist Irineo Mujica, who holds dual American and Mexican citizenship, see, I told you, was arrested by Mexican officials during a pro-illegal immigration protest held in Ciudad Hidalgo near the Mexico-Guatemalan border. While Pueblos Sin Fronteras activist Alex Mensing told reporters Mujica was not involved in organizing the October 2018 caravan. Mujica is listed as one of two Mexican-based contacts for press releases following the March 2018 Pueblos Sin Fronteras caravans. Okay, so now I'm going to show you from this page the evidence of fake news, the evidence of false media narratives that emerged. Okay? They're trying to confuse you. This is how they do it. On November 13, American documentary filmmaker Amy Horowitz, I don't know, reported that the members of the caravan making its way through Oaxaca, Mexico, were, there's a typo there because it's not spelled that way. It's Oaxaca, not Oaxaco. Oaxaca, Mexico, were approximately 90 to 95% male, despite reportings in the U.S. that the caravan consisted of men and women and were primarily organized by representatives from a group called Pueblos Sin Fronteras, which organized trucks of food, water, and other supplies for the migrants. Horowitz also interviewed caravan members who said that they were, quote, seeking employment. They illegally enter the United States. That doesn't make sense. It's not a good sentence. And not fleeing gang violence in Honduras, as has also been widely reported by Western news outlets, Horowitz told the right-leaning Daily Caller. What do we know? What we do know, excuse me. Man, I don't know if I can see better with my glasses or without.
Yeah, these are hard. Hard to read.
What we do know is this thing, the caravan, cost millions and millions of dollars. One of the lies the mainstream media is trying to propagate is the fact that all this weird organic thing and all the water and the food and the medicine all dropped like manna from heaven. It's baloney. It's all highly organized. It's paid for by a number of organizations. We don't know exactly where the money is coming from. According to Horowitz, the Pueblos Sin Fronteras he identified in Mexico is connected to, but not necessarily the same group as, the Chicago-based Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Quote, we do know Pueblos Sin Fronteras, which is the main group, which is organized as Caravan, has a couple of front organizations in the U.S., and the money is flowing from them to Pueblos Sin Fronteras in Mexico. However, Emma Lozano has traveled to Mexico City before in her capacity as director of Pueblos Centro Sin Fronteras in order to, quote, support the Familia Latina Unida. After the caravans reached Tijuana, Mexico in late November, MSNBC reporter Gadi Schwartz reported from the migrant caravan camp that the women and children are, quote, the minority of this caravan. Instead, most of the members of this caravan are men, he said, gesturing toward a line of single men. Schwartz also reported that many migrants had told him that they had joined the caravan after being falsely told that there was work programs that they would be eligible for in the United States. Oh my God, these people were lied to. After realizing that there were no such programs and that it wouldn't be easy to cross into the U.S., Schwartz continued, quote, some of them are deciding to turn back and return to Central America. Some center-left groups like the Washington Post initially criticized conservatives for claiming that members of the violent gang MS-13 were traveling within the migrant caravan. On October 25, Post fact-checker Salvador Rizzo criticized the Trump administration for providing no evidence that criminals members of the MS-13 gangs or other people of Middle Eastern descent formed part of the caravan. On November 28th, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection agencies released a statement that it had arrested a, quote, Honduran citizen and active gang member with the notorious Mara Salvatrucha MS-13 International Crime Organization. The man also told agents he traveled to the United States border with a large group of people from Central America intending on filing for asylum in the United States. The agency also announced that it had arrested over 600 convicted criminals traveling with the migrant caravan, although it did not confirm the backgrounds and identities of all caravan members, which possess a national security and public safety risk. Okay, so now I want to show you that there is media confirmation in this on this page of Pueblos Sin Fronteras involvement. Despite its initial position that the October migrant caravan was not organized by an outside group, on November 19, the Washington Post confirmed that Pueblos Sin Fronteras was helping to guide the caravan through Mexico and across the U.S. border. The report came after approximately 6,000 caravan members reached the city of Tijuana along the U.S. border. The report also stated that between 8,500 and 10,500 migrants were traveling within the caravan. La Razón, a Mexican daily newspaper, also reported that a number of Mexican activists denounced Pueblos Sin Fronteras for, quote, inciting members of the migrant caravan to generate violence on the northern border of Mexico. Eunice Rendon, a Mexican immigration activist and coordinator for the group Migrant Agenda, reported Lee met with Pueblo activist Rodrigo Abeja to offer the group legal assistance. Abeja declined because he pursued other purposes. Rendon told La Razón that, quote, in the end, it's people like Irineo Mujica who have other interests and take advantage of the vulnerability of others. They bring political motivations. According to Mexico News Daily and Milenio, around 350 migrants chose to leave the caravan once it reached Tijuana. In order to return to the Central American countries they came from, claiming they were misled about their chances of gaining entry into the United States. Quote, Pueblos Sin Fronteras told us not to worry, that there was going to be transportation, that Mexico was going to open the gates so that we didn't have to enter illegally via the river, Honduran migrant Ulises Lopez said, referring to the attempted border security breach on Sunday. What was offered to the caravan of Honduran migrants was a trap. The people that brought us to this place, supposedly caravan leaders, took advantage of us. They used us in a horrific way. What they did to us has no name, he added. And that was one of the migrants in the caravan. David Aboud, a Pueblos Sin Fronteras representative, responded to the claim by denying all organizational involvement in the October caravan, saying, let it be clear that we didn't organize or encourage the migrants to carry out the march to the border. A report by right-leaning The Epoch Times, however, called Pueblos Sin Fronteras a well-oiled asylum machine. According to their report, the group Pueblos Sin Fronteras writes the names of asylum seekers in its book. Each number is assigned 10 names. And when a number is called, that's the day those people enter the pedestrian crossing into the United States and claim asylum. They have recorded more than 11,000 names since March. U.S. Customs and Border Protection processes around 100 claims per day at El Chaparral. Colonel Fred Peterson, former Chief Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Defense Department, joined Task Force North, which administers counter-drug and terrorist operations in North America, called the caravan a very well-funded operation. It's not spontaneous at all. According to Peterson, the migrants were, quote, just props in a political strategy play. In a political staged play.
Wow. Yep.
It's what have I said? I've been calling this theater.
Yep. Since the beginning.
And I mean, people criticize me for exposing this stuff, and people criticize folks like Oscar and attack people that are exposing all of this. Mm-hmm. But you know what really gets me is that even when the migrants themselves are quoted as saying that the people that organized them and lied to them laid traps for them and used them as props, that what they did is unforgivable and has no name, they don't relent in calling themselves heroes of human rights. Mm-hmm. It is truly disgusting. What do you think about this? What this is saying, dude?
Well, you know, the part about the numbers, I mean, that was them calling numbers at the border. Everybody was waiting for their number. I thought it was like the immigrant.
Well, they're taking it down too.
Yeah, I got you. Well, the other thing too is that they mentioned two organizations. One was a 501c3 and one was a 501c4. You know, they're both nonprofits, except the 501c4 organizations, you do not receive tax deductible donations because they do political work. They get involved in policies and work that 501c3s can't. So they got the magic between the policy influencing organization, which also lobbies. They lobby, public officials, which, the 501c3s can't. So they have these split organizations, split personality organization, one arm for this, one arm for that. So that I know that stuff's useful. I've seen a lot of organizations use that, but this one is using that to do a lot deeper damage to these whole issues. So it's pretty crazy. This information that you have is like, wow.
Yeah, here's a little bit more on this section. According to Kate Morrissey, a reporter with the San Diego Union Tribune, migrants traveling with the caravan confirmed that Pueblos Sin Fronteras' involvement in coordinating it. Quote, there are people who have performed leadership tasks at different points along the caravan journey, but they don't want to be called leaders. The caravan has a very flat structure. Anyone who wants to be involved in its decision-making is invited to the meetings that are coordinated by Pueblos Sin Fronteras, a group that has escorted migrant caravans through Mexico for years. Luis Cruz, an organizer with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, told Fox News on December 3rd that Pueblo was helping to organize the caravan in Tijuana. He also urged President Trump to let the people in, to let them try. I mean, most of these people are not bad people, close quote. Your thoughts, Duke?
I think that a lot of these people are bad people in these organizations. What they've been doing, we knew from the beginning that something was up, that this couldn't be organic. We've done enough organizing work in this country, and Cindy's done it in other countries, that things just don't come together like this without someone manipulating a bunch of people and people having a lot of resources. So that we suspected this from the very beginning. And now that they're actually naming names of who really is, at the top of this, I mean, that's like good. I've been waiting I've seen other people, mentioned, people being guessed at. I'm really glad that they're coming out with some hard evidence that's showing that this group has been doing this. I also wonder how it's going to influence things in the future. But I think that this stuff is spread further than them, that there's been such coordination that I don't know if it's going to slow it down. And it's really difficult because the people themselves have been duped. There's a lot of people who were lied to, and they end up all the way up at the United States-Mexico border, and they're facing prison time, in the United States, in detention, or never getting in, being deported and sent all the way back to where they came from. And that it's just like, that's not what they signed up for. That's not what they were led to believe. And this group has been perpetuating those lies with people and coordinating them on their naivety, So I think it's horrible what they've been doing, and they've been doing it for a long time.
They have. And there has been other criticisms beside mine. I'm not the lone voice in the desert any longer.
That's right. Good.
Criticism from the left has come from different places. Pueblos Sin Fronteras has been criticized by left-leaning immigration proponents in the U.S. and Mexico. Alejandro Solalinde, they spelled his name wrong. Oh. A Mexican priest and immigration activist alleged that Pueblos Sin Fronteras, quote, impeded him from warning caravan members against seeking asylum in the U.S., which many of them would not qualify for. See?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Pueblos Sin Fronteras has no scruples, said the priest,
okay.
Solalinde, to the Mexican newspaper Sin Embargo. In December of 2018, in The Hill, immigration expert and George Mason University professor Dr. Guadalupe Correa Cabrera and former Obama administration U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Alan Burson criticized the media narrative that the October 2018 caravan was created spontaneously, noting that the migrants, quote, remain out in the cold, mired in squalor with no chance of having their asylum petitions processed any time soon.
Wow.
When the migrants arrived on foot in Mexico, however, migrant advocacy groups, particularly Pueblos Sin Fronteras, assumed an organizing role, arranged funding, and managed the logistics to transport 10,000 migrants to the northern Mexican border city of Tijuana. It has become clear that the organizations which brought the caravan to Tijuana have brought no benefits to the migrants themselves. To the contrary, migrants have been exploited as political pawns and left helpless in an increasingly hostile Tijuana.
Wow.
And then, of course, I'm going to walk through some of the supporting groups, the left wings groups in support. These are going to be investigated, I'm sure, right up front.
Yeah.
These are going to be some of the people that are investigated right up front. And I think that the American government, at least, has had some of these groups on their radar. Mm-hmm. BAM, by any means necessary,
yep,
is a far left agitation group released a document on November 25th implying that it helped organize the migrant caravan and accusing the Trump administration of being lawless and repressive. In their flyer, which I've shown you before, it's the one that was spread all around Tijuana.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
That said, open it up or we'll shut it down. And they're talking about the border wall. They're talking about the border entry point. They say either let all of these migrants in without checking them or stopping them or anything, or we will shut down the border crossing point.
Yeah, and cause millions of dollars of cost.
They did cause millions of dollars of cost. Everyone must be let in. Mexicans and Americans stand with us. The arrival of the migrant caravan at the Mexico-U.S. border has proven once again that the tactic of the caravan is the best strategy for safely reaching the U.S. Although we have not reached the border without suffering the roughness of the trip, and some of us suffering it more than others, united we have almost reached our goal of crossing the U.S. and crossing to the U.S. and have set the example for thousands of brothers and sisters that are now making their way in their own caravans through Mexico, while others prepare for the next caravans to take off. We live in a daily joint struggle to survive in the U.S. undocumented, and we march side by side fighting for immigration rights. We invite our Mexican brothers and sisters to join our caravan efforts to safely and promptly cross to the U.S. The BAM document called for the Democratic Party to demand that the caravan be allowed to illegally cross the U.S. border. Quote, the U.S. midterm elections are over. There's no reason why civil rights organizations and the Democratic Party apparatus should not be fiercely demanding open access across the border for the caravan and doing everything possible to stop Trump's racist attack on the caravan. Close quote. BAM also encouraged Americans in San Diego, California, to quote, I can't say this word, solidarize, that's not spelled right, with the caravan, unify. I think they meant to use the word unify. I don't think that's a word, and it's not.
Solidarify.
That's not a word. Not a word. Anyway, that comes from a quote. So, quote, I'm going to change it. To unify with the caravan, and if it are legally able to get across the border to Mexico and help the caravan to cross the finish line as quickly as possible. Gee, I didn't know it was a race.
Yeah, exactly.
Pueblos Sin Fronteras reportedly organized a rally in Oakland on November 25th, quote, to show solidarity with the caravan of Central American families seeking asylum in the U.S., according to the far-left website Workers' World Mundo Obrero. Honduran immigrant and Pueblo supporter Chris Lopez said, quote, we're here today in solidarity. We are here to support the rights of all migrants to seek asylum. In January of 2019, a benefit show for Pueblos Sin Fronteras was hosted by Free Lunch PDX, a Portland, Oregon-based food collective, to help raise funds for their work in assisting Central American migrants commit illegal border crossings. Did you hear that? Let me just repeat it in case you missed it.
Yeah.
To help in assisting Central American migrants committing illegal border crossings. The event was promoted by far-left media organization It's Going Down.
It's going down.
Do you remember hearing It's Going Down? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that one of the Spanish-speaking activists that were in Viento y Marea shelter, the warehouse where they didn't want to leave, was posting articles? I think his name is Joshua Nichols. Damn, I got a good memory.
Yeah, you do.
And he posted, It's Going Down. And I said, I think he wrote this article.
Yeah.
I think he did. Anyway, next I want to show you about the previous caravan.
April.
Yeah. April of 2018. In the spring 2018, hundreds of migrants from Central America approached the U.S.-Mexico border seeking asylum in the U.S. and threatening to enter illegally if their requests were denied. Pueblos Sin Fronteras organized the caravan in conjunction with CARA, C-A-R-A, Family Detention Pro Bono Project. The CARA coalition consists of the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, the American Immigration Council, the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services, and the American Immigration Lawyers Association, all groups advocating for legal status for illegal immigrants and expanded immigration overall. These organizations have been funded by a number of major left-of-center grant-making foundations, including the Open Society Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and Carnegie Corporation of New York. The caravan eventually halted in Mexico City on April 4th instead of reaching the U.S. border. On November 27, CNN reported that the, quote, annual caravan of Central American migrants heading to the U.S. border was organized by Pueblos Sin Fronteras, referring to the April caravan. In a press release by Pueblos Sin Fronteras on March 23, 2018, the group, quote, demanded the governments of Mexico and the U.S., quote, open their borders to us because we are as much citizens of the people of the countries where we are and or travel. What? Any place where you travel, you are a citizen of that country?
Yeah, I guess.
I think that's how it works.
Nope.
Other demands were, quote, the deportations which destroy families to come to an end. And, quote, that the U.S. government not end TPS, which is the temporary protection status for those who needed it. Temporary protected status is a status designated by the Secretary of Homeland Security, which grants eligible foreign nationals protected status during extraordinary and temporary conditions. The demands appear to violate U.S. law, which prohibit behavior by individuals that, quote, encourage or induce an alien to come to, enter, or reside in the United States illegally. Their requests are illegally.
Yeah.
Okay. The press release was co-signed by Robert Corona, the founder of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, and Alex Mensing, an organizer with the group. And Pueblos Sin Fronteras has reportedly organized roughly 1,000 immigrants in caravans to attempt to enter the U.S. and Mexico illegally since 2010, primarily from Honduras and El Salvador. The idea behind an organized group journey is to alleviate some dangers of the long trip, through the principle of safety in numbers. Pueblos Sin Fronteras has its own organization to handle that logistics, and each individual is responsible for their own provisions of food, water, and funding for the transportation should it be necessary. Groups are created by Pueblos Sin Fronteras, each composed of about 15 individuals under one leader. 5 groups are then organized into a sector. This is how the caravan is structured and maintains order as the groups move northward. Wow. Okay, so now let's get to the leadership. Right. Let's get to see who the leaders are.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the leadership, the founder and the executive director, the executive directors. And we have here, while it is unclear who founded Pueblos Sin Fronteras, many media sources have attributed it to Roberto Corona. As I told you, that day laborers group from Dallas-Fort Worth. The executive is Emma Lozano, and that's associated with Centro Sin Fronteras, a 501c3. And then, of course, I think we already read this part.
Yeah.
Looks very similar. Let's get to the activists, because I really want to focus on the activists.
Okay.
And the funders. That's the juicy bits. That's the juicy bits. So we have Alex Mensing is an organizer and program coordinator for Pueblos Sin Fronteras and its affiliates. Mensing has spent a significant amount of time with economic migrants in the Central American area and organized illegal immigrant caravans to the U.S. According to a 2016 report by the Southern Poverty Law Center, Mensing was a staffer for CARA Family Detention Project, a coalition of left-of-center organizations providing legal aid and representation to illegal immigrants in the U.S. Let me pause for a moment. Remember all the Standing Rock debacle and nonsense, and how there were lawyers that organized these people that were working with these folks? It turns out that one of the lead organizers for Pueblos Sin Fronteras, the people organizing and bringing the caravans here, is associated to the group that represents people who are here illegally. What? Yes.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's like the snake eating its own tail here. Irineo Mujica, an Arizona-based activist holding dual U.S. citizen and American citizenship, is a caravan organizer for Pueblos Sin Fronteras. In October 2018, he was arrested by Mexican officials in Ciudad Hidalgo, Mexico, for his involvement in pro-illegal immigration protests. Rodrigo Abeja is an activist and organizer for Pueblos Sin Fronteras. He's been involved in at least 2 caravans from Central America to the U.S. and Mexico. Abeja was identified in 2013 in an article by the news group Vice as a representative for the Popular Assembly of Migrant Families, a left-wing organization based in Mexico which organizes migrants to the U.S. Now, let's see who funds them.
Yeah.
Well, it is Pueblos Sin Fronteras notes that it is a nonprofit that is not, it is not a nonprofit organization, and that donations to it will not be tax deductible.
Yeah.
The group accepts donations via the payment sharing service Venmo, however. Pueblos Sin Fronteras is reportedly funded by Freedom for Immigrants, an Oakland-based, California-based immigration advocacy group. In September of 2018, Freedom for Immigrants raised $15,000 to pay for a bond releasing Valentina Mejia, a Salvadoran migrant and part of a 2017 caravan to the American border, who was detained by U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement.
Wow.
So let's take a closer look at them. Okay. Let's look at Freedom for Immigrants for a minute real quick so we can see who is this? What are they doing?
Yeah. Who is this?
Yes, Freedom for Immigrants. I've showed them on my show before. I've actually interviewed the executive director of this organization,
Yes,
Christina Mansfield.
I remember.
She is an organizer. And I had no idea that she was helping to fund all of this nonsense. But now we know. Freedom for Immigrants, formerly Community Initiatives for Visiting Immigrants in the Confinement, or CIVIC as they were known. It was a 501c3 illegal immigration advocacy nonprofit group based in Oakland, California. The organization has accepted donations through Pueblos Sin Fronteras, a group whose members have helped organize caravans of migrants from Central America to Mexico and the United States illegally. She likes to bring people here that get put into detention. She likes to fund the caravans. They like to fund the caravans that are brought here that go into the detention facilities.
Wow.
And then she organizes groups to go visit them with their organization.
Wow. Wow.
Huh?
Well, you got prisoners setting up a prisoner visitation group. You know, you got to have some prisoners
to visit.
So they put them in, and then they organize people to go visit them and console them. And wow, that's the head
And raise money up.
That's the head eating the snake
Again.
scenario again. Definitely.
Again. They have donor organizations that donate to them. Okay.
Yeah.
That have given money to this group are the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. Huh? It's a nonprofit. And people that have received money from them, of course, are Pueblos Sin Fronteras. So, that's another group to go look at more closely. And I'm going to go look at about Silicon Valley Community Foundation now. Uh-oh. I lost my link here. Excuse me.
It's a donor-advised community foundation that serves the Silicon Valley community.
Oh, thank you.
The 2 counties are Santa Clara, California, and San Mateo County, California.
There you go. Thank you, Duker. Okay. Now, I want to show you what I know about Roberto Nakay Flote, the guy that was coming with the LGBTQ caravans. That was in the picture with Al Otro Lado's lawyer, Nicole Ramos, the one with the striped shirt with no arms. They work so closely together.
Yeah.
Al Otro Lado, the lawyers group, with the leader of the LGBTQ caravan, Pitaya Queen. And this particular Teen Vogue magazine article, which I'm going to share with you in the comments of my show, is emblematic of how they pull off their shenanigans. So play close attention. because this is sleight of hand, folks. And if you do not, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to see what happened right before your eyes. Okay? First of all, let me point out that the person that wrote this claptrap is none other than Ari Harnarvar. Ari Harnarvar is a woman who I've featured on my show in the past. And in this show that I wrote and that I composed with her in mind, I talked about her connections to all. She writes in all of these different publications. And she was working directly with Mark Lane of the Minority Humanitarian Foundation.
Okay, I remember that, yeah.
Okay? And she is closely connected to all of the people that Mark Lane is working with, including Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Bridges of Love Across Borders, Bertie Gutierrez's organization, and many others. So the fix is in. The article writer is also one of the activists working with the people featured in the article. Get it?
Yep.
Oh, there's more. There's more. So then this article goes on to tell you about the caravan of asylum seekers that is currently emergency. There's a bunch of caravan asylum seekers that are at the port of entry in San Isidro, 18 miles south of San Diego, that included pregnant women, children, and LGBTQIA people.
Oh, yes.
All of them fleeing from violence in Central America. What were they met with? They were met by the United States Custom and Border Patrol officers who informed them the facility was at capacity. So the members of the caravan waited, camping out on the concrete on the Mexican side of the port of entry. Each day, a few from the group were processed until May 4th, when all were processed, according to Rewire News. However, according to Nicole Ramos, the director of Border Rights Project at Al Otro Lado, a subsection of this caravan wasn't processed. This group consisted of 11 LGBTQ asylum seekers, 5 of whom were unaccompanied minors. While those who had camped outside the port of entry were processed, they stayed behind in a nearby shelter to prepare their asylum documents for their meeting with CBP in the hopes of being admitted into the U.S. On May 6th, 6 armed men attacked the group's shelter. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
And robbed the group, according to a letter from the shelter, said Ramos, who tells Teen Vogue that this style of attack is not uncommon. Oh my God. Did you just catch what happened? The LGBTQ people were staying at a shelter. It was called the Caritas shelter. It's the shelter run by Mark Lane and Bridges of Love Across Borders, Bertie Gutierrez. They're the ones that run that shelter. Okay? Again, the fix is in.
Yeah.
The people that were running the shelter that the LGBTQIA caravan is staying at, with a leader that organizes and works with the American organizations that are bringing the caravans, wrote a letter saying that there was a hate crime. There was a hate crime at the shelter. And also, if you will recall, watch my show about Pitaya Queen, folks. Just go and watch it. I covered all of this in there. I didn't know at the time Bertie Gutierrez and Mark Lane were running the shelter that wrote the supporting documentation for the asylum claim, that these people were in imminent danger of being attacked because people in Mexico are so transphobic and homophobic. They actually tried to kill these people at the shelter. I mean, it's kind of like, really? How in the hell does this shelter protect anybody in it if you can't keep a group of men from coming into your shelter and lighting a mattress on fire and putting it in front of the door?
Yeah, exactly.
Of one of the rooms where people were staying. Pitaya Queen posted the pictures of the burned wall, I guess, where the char of the mattress that was burned on top in front of the thing was her evidence of the fact that they were running for their life. They also posted a GoFundMe with pictures of Pitaya Queen's face all mangled and bruised and bulged to show that she was beaten. Nobody else was beaten in the group, by the way. Only the leader of the organizers among the LGBTQIA caravan was beaten. The American gay person was beaten, but not the other ones. How do you know it wasn't a hate crime against Americans instead of LGBTQIA people?
Yeah.
Really, I'm asking for a friend. Because what I can tell you is that this hate crime, these hate crimes don't pass the smell test, just like the Jussie Smollett fake hate crimes. These people do this for a living. They make stuff up and then they sell it in the media with their media contacts. And the people out there have their heartstrings pulled and go, oh my God, these people are in imminent danger, when they really never were. They have to, the same Al Otro Lado group, who I am telling you the pastor has shown me complete evidence of, are fabricating marriages in order to pass asylum claims, also were involved in fabricating hate crimes to get the LGBTQIA caravan in, using information written by or fabricated by the director of the shelters that they also work in, who they also work with. Okay? And then the next thing in this article is, and do we have the second screenshot or is there only one? Yeah, let's go to the Mark Lane one. Because Mark Lane is also in this article, guys. Now listen, it says, Ramos cites death threats, an attempted arson on the shelter where the group was staying, which occurred just after they'd left, as well as harassment of the group by the Mexican police. Given the imminent danger, Ramos, along with Alex Mensing, ding, 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 Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Ramos, along with Alex Mensing, not separate from Alex Mensing, said, who is the project coordinator of the immigrants' rights group, no, actually they're being investigated for trafficking people. Pueblos Sin Fronteras began organizing the asylum seekers to go to the San Isidro port of entry, where the others had successfully been processed to ensure their safety. They arrived by evening, but when they got there, they weren't admitted. Quote, a CBP officer stated that the port of entry was at capacity and that the official stance of DHS is that the port of entry is at capacity and nobody could enter to seek asylum. Mensing tells Teen Vogue. Vogue reached out to CBP by phone but received no reply. Ramos says she presented the CBP officials with a letter from the shelter confirming that the trans women had been attacked and robbed, and she got them from the people working with her. They fabricate evidence, folks. These people at Al Otro Lado fabricate evidence. They work with the people trafficking the folks to the border. Don't you see it? These lawyers, many of whom are not even specialized in immigration, are making money hand over fist. They're raising millions of dollars just like they did at Standing Rock. And it's all so that it generates work for them. These people are sheep to the slaughter. And they don't care if they break the law to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't care if they break the law to do it. I'm showing you another example of how they do it and showing you every step of the way in which they did it. The officers showed no intent in reading the letter. great. They're like, I don't want to see your fake letter. Oh, that's too bad. Too bad. So sad. They're on to you. They're on to you. They're on to you. And said that they'll just have to be patient and have to talk to the Mexicans. Mensing says, referencing the Mexican officials who also work with asylum seekers. When Ramos and Mensing spoke with the supervisor, they said he informed them that the port of entry was still at capacity. When the duo asked more questions about how many people were there or when the group might be processed, the supervisor said he couldn't provide further information other than the fact that they were at capacity. Mm-hmm. Respect my capacity. So Ramos, who's accompanied asylum seekers to the San Isidro entry border since 2015, doesn't believe the claim to be true. I think they don't believe you either, Nicole, because you're full of beep. I've been documenting the illegal turnback of asylum since 2015, December 2015, Ramos says. I've accompanied hundreds of asylum seekers to this point of entry. Almost every single time CBP has attempted, sometimes successfully, to turn them away, even though they know I'm an attorney. According to San Diego Tribune, CBP has the capacity to detain at least 300 people at San Isidro's point of entry. Next is Mark Lane. So you got Mark Lane one ready? Is that the Mark Lane one?
Nope.
Okay, give me Mark Lane. Mark Lane.
Oh, this is it. Yes, it is.
So that's at the very top of that part of it. It says Mark Lane, a San Diego. So Mark Lane is in the article too, folks. Okay. Mark Lane, a San Diego-based advocate for LGBT group migrants. Huh, really? How come you don't call him what he is? One of the people that manages the shelter, in which gave you the letter for the immigrants, and also one of the people that runs Minority Humanitarian Foundation, which is one of the people working directly under the umbrella of the San Diego Rapid Response Network. Part of this Rapid Response Network that Gavin Newsom is giving $25 million to. That's who Mark Lane is. And Mark Lane is in the pocket of Al Otro Lado. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they just hold hands. I don't care. They work together closely and also with Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Mark Lane here is billing himself as an LGBTQ advocate. What? Why would they put a straight man in charge of gay issues? When did we lose this whole putting the people most affected by issues at the forefront of those who advocate for those issues? Where the hell did that go, Duke?
Oh, all the stuff, the true organizing stuff has left the building. It's again they've bastardized organizing, direct action, all these things they've taken and they've spun it on its ear for enriching themselves because, hey, they figured out a way to make money at it. Mm-hmm. Before, well, you didn't make money at it. You did it for justice. They're doing it for buxus.
Okay. And then, of course, Ramos echoes her concerns, of Mark Lane's concerns. Oh, I didn't read his quote. Mark Lane says, because, Mark Lane knows so much about Latin America because all of the Underground Railroad that his Minority Humanitarian Foundation established when they were bringing Christian Chaldean and Iraqi people from the wars in Europe through Mexico.
Yep.
So he knows all about stuff that's going on in Mexico. And he says, in Latin America, transgender people are not safe. It's almost like they're hunted for pleasure.
Oh, boy. They're hunting us.
What?
God.
Ramos echoed the same concern. Quote, the police, gangs, and the military target LGBTQ in Central America. Their public indecency their public indecency laws to incarcerate. They use public indecency laws to incarcerate trans women, she says. One of the caravan members was falsely accused of prostitution. You don't usually get falsely accused of prostitution.
No.
When they arrested them, they were forced to perform sexual acts on those who arrested them. Are any of these things verifiable, or is this all more conjecture? This whole Teen Vogue article is complete fabrication, folks. All of it. Every piece of it. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Oh, okay, the rest of it is not that important. So
yeah, exactly.
But I just wanted to show you with this one article how they used the reporter, the person that was the shelter manager, the people that report for Pueblos Sin Fronteras, the legal end, all of them working in tandem and acting as if, hey, this is all unrelated people talking about the same thing, and they all agree. Don't you agree now? That's how they do it. Huh. So, I want to take you to this article. If you look at the bottom of this article, keep scrolling a little bit further on that article, just because I want to show you that right there it says, after being turned away, the asylum seekers were taken to a secret location run by the Unitarian Universalist Church on the Mexican side. In a video aimed at garnering support for expediting. Is that a word? Expediting the process, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a video link. You see that?
Yep.
You see that video link? Well, I went to try to watch the video, and it's broken link.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. But it was from a Facebook video that was posted from the page of this woman, Gina Garibo. Gina Garibo got nothing on her page. If you remove around on Gina Garibo's page, you'll see her photo there. And you can go down to see there's nothing about her. It doesn't say anything about her. You can't see her friends. She doesn't have very many posts. There's only a couple of posts. The first one there, as you can see, is the press release by Pueblos Sin Fronteras. You see that? It's the same one that was in Spanish from Pueblos Sin Fronteras page.
Yep.
And go to the right so that you can see that she doesn't really have any other visible information about herself on her page on Facebook. Then I got really suspicious because it looked like River Doherty's page. I'm like, what the hell? Who's this woman at?
Yeah.
Who is this woman? And guess what I found out? I found out that this is a Mexican woman who was the project coordinator for Pueblos Sin Fronteras.
Really?
Yes. She used to work at a shelter in Tlaxcala. And all of this started as these Pueblos Sin Fronteras people infiltrated Mexican shelters by volunteering as missionary volunteers that were there to just help and support and bring donations to all these places that needed a lot of help in Mexico that usually deal with migrants. And then once they got themselves in there, well, you know the rest of the story. So the person that posted the video of the people talking about the LGBTQ caravan, about their plight and about what was happening, was none other than the project coordinators for Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Gina Garibo. One of the ladies that went and inserted herself long ago, positioned herself to be at the forefront of this conversation on caravans, especially within Mexico, because there's a bunch of them littered throughout Mexico in all of these shelters, y'all. That's how they did it. That's how they got Padre Solalinda to work with them at the beginning. But then he realized they were human traffickers, and he was like, these people have no scruples. I will have nothing more to do with them.
That's right.
Gina Garibo had one picture, and this one is her picture. That's the avatar there. I want to show you the tags on that one. These are some of the people that she tagged. I don't yet know who they are.
Oh, okay.
There is Marisela Montano, Estela What is that? Can you make this bigger a little bit? Because I can't read. There, that's way better. Estela Galdames, Elena Ayala Gali, Gustavo Garcia Leiva. Oh, that sounds familiar. Patty Leiva, Esther Marcial, Andrés Rivera, Cueva Ramírez Carlos, Melvin Amador, Sara Márquez, Mariolín Elvira Morales, Alison Escarlet Flores, Hockenberry Sphinx. Oh my God! You know who Hockenberry Sphinx is?
No.
Remember Hockenberry Sphinx stole the page of Diversidad Sin Fronteras from, Pitaya Queen stole the Diversidad Sin Fronteras page from Hockenberry Sphinx. That was the person that said that he had made the page for queer people and then he had it stolen from him by this American trans woman who he called an imperialist.
Okay, yeah. I remember
Yeah. She tags Hockenberry Sphinx. What? Soraya, and this is her profile picture. So this is possibly an old picture, an old post. But anyway, I figured that these would be pretty interesting. Soraya Vasquez, Elias Ramirez Robles, Mirna Hernandez, Fernanda Montanger Mosaco, Maritza Flores, Carlos Lagos, and two more that I did not expand on that. I just wanted to get it up. And finally, I will show you the only other thing she had on her page. And remember, I talked to you about how this was put out by Pueblos Sin Fronteras and a lot of the people that supported that group. This was a video, if you don't recall what this video is about, it's about a recent arrest that took place outside of the Mexico City Stadium where one of the caravans was recently at. The news media reported that there were complaints that the folks that had been on the outside of the stadium, which were arrested in this video, had been kicked out of the stadium for not following stadium rules.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And that police outside were then called because these people continued to drink and drug in the public view outside of the stadium. So they showed up to arrest them. Now, that's not what any of the people that were posting this were saying that were defenders of this nonsense. In fact, it says the new migrant policy in Mexico can be summarized like this: criminalize in jail any of those who defend migrants. And then they said, urgent. The police of Mexico's capital have just beaten and arbitrarily detained a group of people right outside Estadio Palillo de la Magdalena Mixcoac in the city of Mexico. And among these people they beat, that weren't even detained, are the defenders of human rights, Andrea Gonzalez and Andrea Margarita Núñez Chaim. And of course, among those who were beaten and also detained are the defenders of human rights, Cristobal Sanchez. And the Honduran migrant, Dennis Omar Contreras. Cristobal Sanchez and Dennis Omar Contreras were taken on the police vehicle with license plates MX704, and the police acted in a form that was violent and arbitrary, and they did not wish to identify themselves. We urge the authorities that are competent to do so to end the criminalization and the hunting of defenders of human rights and migrants. We urge also that we would know immediately where Cristobal Sanchez and Dennis Omar Contreras are, and that they are liberated at the same time with the rest of the persons that were detained. In this video, you can see the arbitrary, illegal, and violent detention. No translation is available. And so I wanted to tell you more about that person she's talking about, at least one of those people that she's talking about that I know more about. And that is Cristobal Sanchez, which one of my sources told me was a drug addict and a drunk. So not surprising that he was again accused of doing such things outside of this shelter and inside of this shelter at the stadium in Mexico City. This person also confirmed to me, my source also confirmed to me that she witnessed him using and under the influence of drugs. And that this person was one of the people that managed a shelter. He managed a shelter in Huixla, Chiapas, in Mexico. In Chiapas, in Huixla, okay? And that he is, they told me a story about how he was with this Honduran, very young looking woman who was working in like a brothel there. And that this person that witnessed all this stuff was like, oh my God, I think these people are trafficking these young girls, sex trafficking these young girls. They were a witness to all of this. One of these days, I'm going to have my source come on and share all of this for you. But just know, as you know, when I bring information to you, I always have receipts, right?
Right.
So just trust, have faith, and know that what I am telling you comes from a source that's very reliable about this topic. And also, they also told me that this person that got arrested is friends with Irineo Mujica, the leader of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, the director of Pueblos Sin Fronteras. All you got to do is search Cristobal Sanchez and the police, and you'll see the videos that come up about that. Which is the one that you just saw the picture of. But folks, these folks are criminals. And now the government knows in the United States, and the government in Mexico is hunting them down, and so is Interpol. So hang on to your hats. It's going to be a bumpy ride for Pueblos Sin Fronteras and all of those people that have supported them. You've been listening to A Mexican Crossing Lines with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
And Duke Gomez-Schempp
on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Good night, and God bless.